the next basketball game, it was all, ref, do a better job. Ref, do a better job. It was, probably if you would have left it alone, nothing would have happened. I'll come out to your game and start railing. Do a better job, do a better job.
Maybe we just need a tape of that.
A couple of these that I grew up with.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Oh,
like,
so they're getting you back now? No, just kidding.
well, like I called him Bang Bang Trent the other day. I said, hey, every Bang Bang play goes to them. I was like, can I get some Bang Bang? I said, how about some Bang Bang Trent? I said, I'll buy you some Bang Bang Trent if the next Bang Bang play you call for me. And I said, every time they tag them on their knee doesn't mean they tagged them high. They still could have not gotten there. I was like, he goes, they tagged them high, coach. I go, that doesn't mean they're safe. Unless it's my team. But
I don't know.
We started out 2-0, and we beat 2 good teams. And now we've lost 6 in a row. 3 good teams, and 3
The little boys I know, one of them playing on the Rockies.
yeah, those are all that could be rookie ball. Well, but you're saying the kids were pitching.
Yeah, the kids were pitching.
Yes, that's minor.
Yeah, and then they were playing against the A's. And it was funny because the A's coaches were like, I mean,
And I got my key
I
lock
love
up.
youth sports no matter what it is. I'm telling you, if you ever want to like get in the middle of a really bad situation, come to a competitive basketball.
I mean, if you need to leave,
With
you
mom,
can't.
I
I
mean,
mean, it's daylight outside. That doesn't bother me.
They're right behind you.
And they are over.
Yeah. And as long as it's daylight out.
You don't have that little fence separating you for safety.
We got football.
Yeah, I know.
And they're all
I don't
wearing
know.
helmets and stuff. Baseball, they're normally behind home
I think
plate,
I'm
but
gonna have to.
you're like,
Because we don't have 4 unless the mayor's gonna vote.
Doesn't matter how bad you want your kid to win. He hits a one-hopper back to the pitcher, turns and throws it to first. Okay. Everybody in the place knows he's out by 30 feet. It's not an issue. Every time you blow the whistle in a basketball game, you've made half the people on the
Counting the mayor.
Matt, you talked about people.
Yeah.
David Johnson, mayor. I threw him out probably about 3 times.
Do I need to call Gary Fox? I mean, if you
I don't
voted
believe so.
4.
We've got 4.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to make sure.
If they don't want
I'll text him
to
and
do
tell
something,
him.
they don't have to vote.
Okay,
We've got our required
yep,
4.
thank you.
That's all that matters. Jason's here. Oh, you'll find this funny. One of the city school bond issues, they sent over what's called an incumbency certificate, where they list all the elected officials, and they wanted to know when your terms expired and all. And I'm reading through it, and I'm going, yeah, it says, Stacy, send this paralegal back an email and tell her it's Jace, not Joyce. But I imagine you get that a lot of written documents.
Probably spell checks. Well, it's like my technical director at the theater, her name is Stevie.
Yeah.
For Stephanie, and then
Right.
they're like, yeah, I want to connect you with Steve. And they're like, okay, well, I haven't seen him around here. And it's like, so it's got to go, I want to connect you with my technical director, Stevie. She can tell you everything that you need to know.
It's like Carrie, they called me the other day for a question. I'd like to speak to Mrs. Carrie Rock. I'm like, that's my wife. Or do you want to talk to me? Well, I said, she doesn't give blood. I do. Oh, then I said, it's Mr. Carrie Rock.
I know. So over here we need a Larry, a Mary, and a Barry.
Randy, do we need the lobby speakers on? Is there anyone else out there? Okay.
got less than 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
2 minutes, 2 minutes. Well, that,
Are we adding something to the agenda?
oh,
Not
here's
to my
here's what's
knowledge.
gonna happen. Dexter Benning is here to talk about their mass vaccination, event that they've got. And so after, but before the hearings start, Scott is running the video stuff for Emily tonight. And he's gotta flip that cable around. So while he's doing that, instead of making Dexter wait till after the hearings to do public comments, I'm gonna ask him to come up and he can talk while Scott's moving out there to that cable.
I know I put one in and I'm about to have to swear him in. I was like, just start chewing it up.
We've got about 30 seconds. That's me.
Somebody.
We got about 10 seconds. Good evening. I'll call this meeting of the Cartersville City Council to order. If you'll please stand for our invocation and pledge. Sorry,
You do at every meeting, you scare people.
Well, let's pray. Our dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your blessings that you have bestowed upon us. And we thank you for this city and the opportunity that we get to come and do the business of this fine town. Tonight, Lord, we just want to lift up the Cooley family, and we ask a special blessing of comfort for their family and the loss of family members there tonight. And thank you for Calvin and the influence he has, the great influence he has in our city. We ask a special blessing on his family, that they would experience comfort and peace during these times. Lord, thank you for this time. Again, I thank you for the beautiful weather we've had outside and the time that we get to come here and do this business. We ask that you would give us wisdom and continue to watch over and keep us safe. Thank you for the efforts that have been done on the pandemic and the headway that's been made there. We ask that you would continue to touch bodies and to give safety and guard over the health of those who are sick. Bless us now in all we do, and it's in your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Drake, the roll, please.
Carrie Hodge, Ward 1. Jay Stepp, Ward 2.
Here.
Carrie Roth, Ward 3.
Here.
Calvin Cooley, Ward 4. Gary Fox, Ward 5. Taft Wren, Ward 6.
Here.
Thank you, Julia. I assume we turned the volume down on that TV or figured out whatever that was. Very good, thank you. It's bad enough I have to hear myself the first time, much less hear it a second. First order of business this evening is the approval of our council meeting minutes from April 1st. And council, you've had these well in advance of tonight and had an opportunity to review those. Now would be the opportunity to make any edits, if any are needed, and if not, then a motion is in order.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And I vote aye as well, as ordinance requires 4 votes. I'll be voting this evening to make that 4th requirement. Mr. Porta, if you'll get us started on the first item.
Yes, Mayor. Tonight, I'd like to officially appoint Michael Dixon to be the next gas system superintendent. As you recall, Michael Hill is retiring at the end of this month, and Michael Dixon has been a valued employee for the city for about 27 years. He's worked his way up through the ranks, and it'd be my recommendation to take over as the gas superintendent officially May 1st if the city council so chooses.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, a motion's in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I'll vote yes, too. Michael, congratulations. We're going to ask Ms. Drake to go ahead and swear you in.
So raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and of the state of Georgia, that you will in all respects observe the provisions of the charter and ordinances of the city of Cartersville, and that you will faithfully discharge
Thank you for the opportunity.
That's a good speech.
That's really sweet.
Like your predecessor. Who is here? And Michael, I'd like for you to come up, if you would, please, sir. I know you don't want to, and I know we've already dragged you through a reception earlier tonight, but I just want, on the record, a thank you from the council and from everybody here, to thank you for your service, your leadership, your commitment to the city and every single one of its citizens, and again, for the style of leadership that is thoughtful, caring, and nurturing, and developing leadership. That's why we're able to keep everything in-house and move people up. It's because of the way that you've done things, and your contributions to the city will be felt for many years to come.
Thank you very much for your kind words, Mayor. I appreciate it. It's been quite an experience for me too. Y'all take care. I'm out of here.
I think that's the longest he's ever spoken there.
Oh, very well done. All right, Mr. Menino. Why not? ZMA 2101, please, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a proposed zoning map amendment. We do this annually. It takes in the previous year's zoning and annexation cases. We put them on the map for readoption. Additionally, this year we made some map corrections where some lines were off on, that didn't quite match the tax maps. We went back and checked some surveys and did several corrections. I think David's highlighted them there with the circles on there. On the map, we also have the hard copy that we're going to request that you sign after the second reading. And with that, Planning Commission did recommend approval of this map amendment.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any questions for Randy at this time? Thank you. And now we'll open up a public hearing relative to ZMA 21-01. And anybody wishing to step forward and make comment on that may do so at this time. And seeing none, I'll close the public hearing for ZMA 21-01. And council will take this up for final consideration at our next meeting on May the 6th, I believe is the date on that. All right, Mr. Forsythe, you've got the next item, please, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is an ordinance to correct and amend, rather, a section of the ordinance, section 24-145, related to the sewer use and pretreatment. And it has listed incorrectly the biochemical oxygen demand discharge limit as 600 milligrams per liter. This ordinance corrects it to 850 milligrams per liter, which is consistent with the other portion of this same ordinance, section 22-44.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Sydney on this?
This number.
Just to fly me to the moon.
I did not do it this time. Just this once.
It was me. This number is regulated by the state, or where do we get that? Where do we get that number? I just want a clarification.
That is a local limit.
That's okay.
It comes from an engineering study determined by the ability of our treatment plant to treat such waste, and we divide that up evenly over all the industries. So that's where that number comes from.
Thank you.
But it obviously meets or exceeds whatever the state standards would be.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Good question, though. Thank you. Any other questions for Sydney? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Again, we'll take this up for consideration at our next meeting. And we'll now turn it over to Mr. Reinhardt, who has a series of items this evening.
Honorable Mayor and Council, the first item I'm bringing to you is the Defined Pension Trust Company. We are looking for, well, let me back up. The Pension Trust Board has met with Salem Trust, which we are recommending tonight for our pension plan assets to be transferred from our current company, Defined Benefit Trust, to Salem Trust. We've checked all the references from existing governments that are using Salem Trust. Feel very confident that they can handle our needs for the pension plan, and I recommend, along with the Pension Trust Board recommends also the moving of our pension plan assets from from Benefit Trust to Salem Trust.
Okay. Questions for Tom on this item? And if there are none, a motion is in order.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Motion carries 4-0. Continue on, Tom.
Second item I'm bringing to you, Honorable Mayor and Council, is the U.S. Bank Georgia Fund 1 resolution. This is a resolution from U.S. Bank and Georgia Fund 1. Georgia Fund 1 currently houses our Series 2018 water and sewer bonds. In order for those funds to be reimbursed to the city, a series of paperwork needs to be filled out and signed properly. The existing documents that we have on file are outdated and need to be updated with correct signatures, and this resolution completes that process. I recommend approval of this resolution.
Okay, questions, comments, or motions?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote yes as well. Motion carries 4-0. Continue on.
Honorable Mayor and Council, the next item I bring is the BB&T doing business as Truist Bank resolution. Currently, we are using BB&T as our depository bank. It is basically, if you don't know, it's going through a merger with a trust company, soon to be Truist Bank. We currently do not have a resolution with Truist Bank. However, the BB&T staff has asked us to get a new updated resolution. The paperwork included in the package tonight will make this, I guess if you will, fit with BB&T / Truist Bank. For this reason, the document is on BB&T letterhead. Just to let you know also that the Truist merger will be completed October of 2021, and I recommend approval of this bank resolution.
Okay, thank you. Any questions on this item? If there are none, Chair will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote yes as well, so motion carries 4-0.
And my final item for the evening is the monthly financial report for February 2021. We'll be comparing it to February 2020. And the general fund revenues decreased over last February by $1.3 million. Expenses decreased by $784,000. Local option sales tax has increased by about $14,000. Building permits and inspection fees has decreased by about $80,000. The water and sewer fund revenues decreased over last February by $582,000. Expenses increased by $99,000. This is due to increased personnel expenses, increased operating expenses, decreased capital expenses, decreased debt service expenses, and increased transfers to the general fund. In the gas fund, revenues decreased over last February by $688,000. Expenses increased by $261,000. This is due to increased personnel expenses, decreased operating expenses, decreased cost of purchase of gas, increased capital expenses, increased debt service expenses, and increased transfers to the general fund. In the electric fund, revenues decreased over last year by $774,000. Expenses increased by $896,000. This is due to increased personnel expenses, decreased operating expenses, increased cost of purchase of electricity, increased capital expenses, and increased transfers to the general fund. Stormwater fund, revenues decreased over last year by $78,000. Expenses increased by $51,000. This is due to increased personnel expenses, increased operating expenses, and decreased capital expenses. Solid waste fund, revenues decreased over last February by $251,000, and expenses decreased by $128,000 due to increased personnel expenses, decreased operating expenses, and decreased capital expenses. Finally, in the fiber optics fund, revenues increased over last year by $30,000. Expenses increased by $44,000. This is due to increased personnel expenses, decreased operating expenses, increased debt service expenses, decreased capital expenses, and increased transfers to the general fund. Cash position for the month of February, the total unrestricted cash increased, and the total restricted cash also increased.
Anything to add?
Mr. Mayor, again, Tom, thank you for your work on this. Obviously, 8 months into the fiscal year, being a tough fiscal year where we started, we're doing fairly well in the general fund and the other funds, so I appreciate your good work on all the staff. team-wise throughout the different departments continually to monitor expenses and to just keep providing the citizens with exceptional service.
I think the other thing that I look at, the February 2020 number to 2021, it's almost exactly what it was, and this is really the last month of
Before
revenue
COVID.
that we have to look at before all
Correct.
of the COVID stuff hits. So to be back where we were pre-COVID from a sales tax perspective, that's, I think if you'd told anybody that in March or April, they'd be pretty happy with that. So, be interesting to chart that over the months to come. And again, I'll echo Dan's sentiments over the fact that, we passed a budget that was extremely lean and asked an awful lot out of our employees, and because of that, the numbers, even though some of the revenue numbers are down, that we're sitting in a much better position than we had budgeted for, which was kind of the strategy there. So, any other questions or comments on the finance report?
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. We have a series of alcohol license appeals that we will get to in just a few minutes. There's a piece of technology that needs to be changed out so that the people here can see what is going to be on the monitor. And so while that is taking place, I'd like to ask Dexter Benning to come forward to talk about a community event that he is spearheading and to inform council and our community about what it all is. Good evening, Dexter. How are
Good
you?
evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Thank y'all for having me this evening.
If I could get you to give our clerk your address.
Yes, sir. Dexter Benning, 23 Mallet Point, Northeast Cartersville, Georgia, 30121. County. Well, anyway, I'm here this evening to talk a little bit about the COVID-19 Equity Council for the state of Georgia. I was asked to serve on that council as a representative for Bartow County. I take it as an honor and a privilege to do so, because what we're trying to do is make sure that we address the hesitancy issue with folks in the county and provide vaccines to everyone that would like to get a vaccine. As the mayor stated, on April the 24th, New Frontier is having a drive-through vaccination clinic. You can go online and sign up. You can drive up. We're going to have about 100 to 125 doses. Originally, it was going to be the J&J shot, the one and done. For these type of events, that's what we were hoping to be able to do. With J&J being suspended right now, I'm not sure if it's going to be Pfizer or Moderna, but I was told that I may know by tomorrow, but no later than Monday. But more than likely, they're saying it's going to be the Pfizer vaccine. But I would really prefer the Moderna. But whatever case it may be, we want to get that to our citizens. So we just want you guys to be aware of what we're doing. I've also been in consultation with the commissioner, and one of the other council members from a neighboring county had a novel idea, and I stole it from him and decided that we're going to do that here in Bartow. And in Floyd County, they went to the housing clusters and actually administered shots right there in the cluster. I think the one day they did it, they did 156 vaccinations right in the clusters. So on May 8th, we're going to do it in Adairsville, and then on May 15th, we're going to do it here at near Summerhill Complex in our clusters here. So we're just really trying to get that out to folks, and we really want to address the hesitancy issue. Mr. Swift did an excellent article in the paper this past Sunday about it, and I keep pushing education. I think from our perspective, we really have to educate the public on the importance of taking these vaccines, why we got to do it, and if you want to get back to some sense of normality, this is what it's going to take in order for us to do that. So I just wanted to come and kind of give the council and the mayor an update on where we are with that, and we want to continue doing that. If you guys have any ideas or anything that I can help you with as far as access to vaccines or getting a message to the state from problems that we're having on the ground, just let me know. The county reached out to me, and we were able to solve some problems for the county. And I kind of feel like little old me, I shouldn't have that much clout, but apparently I do. So
I agree.
But again, if you guys need anything, and if there's anything I can do to help the city, or if anybody has any ideas of anything that we could do to do things in the city, just let me know.
You mentioned people being able to register on a website. What is the website that people that want to register for that event?
So CORE is the organization that's contracted through the state. I have it, it's in the flyer that I provided. We were going to do a registration link that was more in line like New Frontier, but we left it with the one that CORE has, and it's in the paper, and it's on the flyer, but I can't get that for you, but it's a series of numbers and letters and all that stuff, so I don't.
If you wouldn't mind sending that to the clerk, or send it to me, or send it, if
Okay.
you would, send it to Dan. The other thing, I guess,
Post on our Facebook page.
the other thing I'd ask, Dexter, you were talking about, what kind of resources are there for those people that are considering that might need more information? Maybe they're on the fence about the vaccine. I know you say you're trying to reach people to have them make an informed decision. Is there a website or somewhere you would?
Yes,
direct
so DPH, Department of Public Health, has a website. We actually met this evening as a council, and Georgia Tech has been enlisted to do a dashboard that gives a lot of demographic information that the cities may want to know, but individuals can go on there and see information. They talk about the importance of the vaccine, what the vaccines is. You know, I've heard everything that they're going to change your DNA, that they're microchipping you. I've heard it all, and it really isn't the case, and people just don't know. So it's a spike protein, and that's what the RNA vaccine does. It attacks the spike protein. So we're really doing this by education, by talking to people, and I think there's a lot of influencers is the way that they're trying to go. But once someone in the family gets the vaccine and they realize they didn't have any issues with the vaccine, then it's easier for other people in the family to want to take the vaccine. And my way of doing it is telling people, if you want to get back to normality, this is what's going to be required in order for us to do that. So that's the piece that I'm really trying to promote, is that if you want to, be able to see your grandkids, hug folks, not wear a mask, we got to get to herd immunity, which is about 75 to 80%. And I'm going to leave that part alone because that's not my expertise, but I know a lot of people got to get the vaccine in order for us to get to that point. So we're just trying to educate people to that. And so.
Thank you. I appreciate your efforts and the communication that you and I have had about trying to make sure that anybody that wants to have access to this vaccine has the ability to get it.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Council, for allowing me to come and speak to y'all. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Yep, thank you.
Mr. Lovell, I will turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. The next 4 items on the agenda are alcohol license appeals. These are appeals from the Alcohol Control Board of violations of selling alcohol to a minor. There are 4 establishments which filed an appeal. There is El Nepal, Short Trip, Easy Trip number 2, the Local Bar and Grill, and the Page, AKA Coronas. I will inform you that my office did receive a withdrawal of the appeal from the Local Bar and Grill prior to this meeting, so they will no longer be appealing, and the sentence will be imposed upon them, and they have until next Friday to pay their fine and commence their probation as required. I will make a brief statement regarding the procedure for all the remaining 3 cases and the duties of the council member, and a brief summary of the action of the Alcohol Control Board. But basically, we have a situation where the city of Cartersville conducted an underage sting operation on all these establishments in the city that were licensed to sell alcohol, pouring and package. As a result of that, 21 of our, I believe it's 63 establishments failed that check. All 21 had a hearing before the Alcohol Control Board. All 21 did plead either no contest or guilty. And the Alcohol Control Board heard each case and then entered a fine of $1,000 and 3 years probation on the majority of those establishments, which also include these 3. They did suspend the license of 1 for 15 days because that was a second violation. All 3 of these establishments are first violations under the ordinance. Basically what happens when they provide us a notice to appeal, we schedule that before the next available council meeting. At that time, the entire record from the Alcohol Control Board is submitted as part of the agenda for the City Council. That includes the citations from the police department, the minutes of the Alcohol Control Board, any memorandums, picture evidence, any statements or testimonies made. It also includes the videos of the buys that were taken by the police officers. It also includes any statements made by the defendants or any written documentation that they submitted to the Alcohol Control Board as a result of those hearings. And it does include the actual order of the Alcohol Control Board. Now, once those records have been transmitted to y'all, they're put in your agenda, and we provide notice to the people who filed an appeal when the meeting is going to be held for them to be here to raise whatever issues they wish before y'all. It is important to note that these hearings under the ordinance are not for y'all to rehear the case or hear new evidence or anything else. Each defendant in this matter has the right to make an oral argument regarding the basis of their appeal and what they are asking you. The evidence, though, is what was submitted before the Alcohol Control Board. All of that evidence is here for y'all to review as you want. If you wish to view the videos, you have the right to do so. If you want to go through page by page, the about 20-page package with each establishment, you do have the right to go over those records during the meeting as well. After they have made those statements, the mayor and council is then under an obligation to make a decision with respect to their appeal. Now, yeah.
Tell them I'm busy.
Yeah. The mayor and council then has the right to has an obligation to make a decision. Y'all do not have to make the decision tonight. Under the ordinance, you have 30 days to make a decision. You can make your decision tonight. You are acting, though, as a quasi-judicial body on this. So if you do decide to not make your decision tonight, you are not allowed to discuss it amongst yourselves after you leave here. Any discussions regarding this matter can only be done in council chambers when we are having a council meeting. Now, when they file an appeal, council has several options. One option is you can affirm the decision of the Alcohol Control Board, which basically means that you agree with what they did and you're going to let their decision stand. Number two, you can modify that however you want to. You can increase the potential amount of the fines, you can increase the probation if you so desire, and you can decrease the amount of the fines, and you can decrease the amount of the probation. You also have the right, if you feel after reviewing the evidence that the Alcohol Control Board might have been too lenient in a particular case, you can also decide to suspend or revoke a license. Or you can remand them back to the Alcohol Control Board for reconsideration on particular points. If you decide to do that, you need to actually state what issues you are going to ask the Alcohol Control Board to reconsider. Like, for instance, if you watch the video and you see that the driver's license might not have been shown, or you saw the clerk type something in, you can say, I would like y'all to review that for the transaction to make sure that, there wasn't any additional evidence in there y'all missed, or something along those lines. That is basically the process. I will state, with respect to all three of these establishments, the employee that committed the offense has been cited separately from the license holder. That employee will go before the City of Cartersville Municipal Court, and they are subject to a fine of, I think it's $1,002 with surcharges now. And I don't believe any of them have actually appeared yet before the city court, to my knowledge, so some of them may have already paid by not showing up. So the license holders are then given notice, and they are cited for 2 violations of the ordinance. The first is for their establishment selling alcohol to a minor. The second is for the licensee's failure to properly supervise their employees. Now, the Alcohol Control Board had the right, under these circumstances, to impose a fine of $1,000 on each violation. So that could have been a potential total fine of $2,000 against the establishment. And also the right to impose 3 years probation on each violation. So that could have also been a potential 6 years of probation with respect to them. For each of these, after hearing the evidence or their statements, the board then made a decision to impose a fine of $1,000 and 3 years. That is a brief summary, wasn't that brief, but it's a lot briefer than the hearings were. That is a brief summary of all three. I will call each item individually. I may add a little additional opening statement on each one if there's a particular fact you need to know about that case that is different than the general overview I've given you. With respect to the oral argument from the city, it is the same for each case. We basically recommend that you uphold the decision of the Alcohol Control Board, and that's the only response the city has to the oral arguments that are going to be made before you today. Now, are there any questions before we proceed?
Just by appealing to us, are they ultimately saying to us that they reject the penalty that was given to them when we started 0? Or is that handled individually, I guess is the way to ask it?
Well, it is handled individually. Basically, I'll use an example, El Nepal, though I will let them actually speak to their issues. They were sentenced, they pled no contest to the charge, first violation, and sentenced to a fine of $1,000 and 3 years probation. Their appeal is not, and none of these established are appealing a violation occurred. They all admit their employee messed up that day and sold to a minor when they should not. What they are appealing is, in their case, they're asking for leniency with respect to the time of probation or the fine, or maybe to increase the fine and reduce the probation. They're appealing the actual sentence that was given to them. Your basis for making your decision is what the Alcohol Control Board did, which is a $1,000 fine and 3 years probation. If after hearing their oral arguments you think, hey, they make a lot of sense and we should reduce this or increase whatever they're saying, then y'all modify based from that. Or if you hear, after hearing everything and reviewing everything, the Alcohol Control Board was too lenient. We need to double this or triple it or whatever you want to do. You can do that as well, but the basis you use from your evaluation is the $1,000 fine and 3 years probation. Okay? Are there any other questions from council? Do any of the defendants have a question about the procedures as I have outlined them? Let me just name each one to make sure you're all here. I know El Nepal is here. Is a representative of Short Trip and Easy Trip here? Very good. And I believe the gentleman from the page is here as well. Yes, okay, very good. At this time, the first case to sound, if there are no further questions. Oh, and Stacy, my paralegal, is over there to operate the videos. If any of y'all want to see them, please feel free to direct her to do that, because I don't understand any of that. First one is El Nepal. If they would come forward, and they may make whatever oral argument they wish.
May I take off my mask?
Y'all may, yes.
And again, for everybody, if you would, please give your name and your address for our clerk, please.
My name is Jana Allen. I'm with the McCoy Law Firm here in Cartersville, 775 West Avenue, Suite B, Cartersville 30120.
I'm Judy Escamilla, one of the owners at El Nepal. Oh, 1130, the restaurant's address? It's
fine.
540 Old Mill Road, Cartersville 30120.
Thank you.
Jose Leon. It's 540 Old Mill Road, Cartersville, Georgia, 30120. And I'm the general manager in there.
Okay, thank you.
May I, or is this a procedure, may I go ahead? Or?
Yes.
Please do.
I'm legal counsel for El Nepal, and we are here on behalf of the license holder, who's Juan Escamilla. That's Ms. Escamilla's husband. He's been in and out of the hospital through this process and is just not well enough to come in before you. So we've been appearing in his stead. What we're here for is not to say that El Nepal was not wrong on February 3rd, 2021, because the employee did commit the violation, sell to a minor. I believe his court date before city court is July 12th of this year. The manager, Mr. Leon, came also consider something that could be equally punishment, but maybe not in that exact fashion. For instance, this business was cited with 2 violations. So we were able to get, instead of the max penalty of $2,000 of fines and 6 years probation, the board did give us the standard recommendation of the first offense, which is the $1,000 fine plus a 3-year probation. Perhaps, based upon the circumstances of each business, Elma Paul could get $2,000 in fine and 1-year probation, or additional fines and less probation, or 2 years probation, no fines. We're just asking if you might consider something that will be equivalent to what is the standard, which is the punishment of the 3 years probation and $1,000 fine, but maybe in a different form. And one of the things that I posited is, and that we discussed with the board below, is perhaps Elma Paul could afford to pay a higher fine. And then you might give them less probation, but maybe that's not fair for businesses who couldn't afford a higher fine to also get fewer years on probation. So one of the things that we discussed before the board was if you imposed community service. All businesses can do community service, right? Even if they don't have the money to pay extra and get fewer years on probation, maybe you could impose 100 hours of community service and the fine and 1 year probation. And within that community service, some things that can be done for the community are either you can actually labor at a community service facility for 100 hours at an approved site that you approve, or as some of the local agencies do, is businesses or probationers in the court system can actually say 100 hours of community service times the minimum wage rate of $7.25. You just do that multiplication, and whatever that figure is, you buy car seats. And then you donate them to local agencies here, hospitals, DFACs, other agencies in the community who need car seats for families that maybe can't afford them, or for agencies that are transporting children and need those donations. So a business that, it kind of puts everybody on equal footing. If you don't have the money to pay a higher fine, you can do community service, and it can be fulfilled in one of 2 ways. Either monetarily by helping the community with a donation of car seats or some other type of community benefit, or it could be done actually laboring in the community for those 100 hours. So we're asking you just if there could be some more options that would equally be the sentence that you're recommending, would have the same force and effect of a $1,000 fine and 3 years probation, but maybe just in a different form. And I say that because you may have some first offenders before you who maybe a first offender just by the skin of their teeth, because maybe it's been 4 years since their last violation. Maybe they're not on probation anymore, but maybe they just rotated out of the 3 years under the code. Or you may have somebody who's been in business in this community for about 20 plus years, and they're here before you as a first offender. So maybe if the board is not exercising any of the, I guess, discretion that it has, and it's treating everybody with the one-size-fits-all, and it may not necessarily be that in every case. For instance, Elma Paul, one of the mitigation efforts they are taking is they have, I believe it's Prospero Restaurant Solutions, is coming into all 6 of their restaurants, and at a cost of $80 per employee, they're training 160 employees across their 6 restaurants. If my math on my phone was correct, it's about $12,800 of expense that they are going to do to just doubly ensure that something like this never happens again. That's a pretty strong mitigation effort, and you may have another person who gets the exact same sentence who's not even trying to do any mitigation effort, even if it's not that extensive. So we would just ask if you would use some of your discretion to fashion something that might be more case specific, but yet still treat everyone fairly based upon their particular situation.
Mayor and council, y'all do have the right to ask them questions. Of course, the other 2 individuals with her may wish to make a statement as well. I did just want to state for y'all's informational purposes, on page 55 of your package is where are the standards to consider if you wish to actually reduce the penalty for an establishment. And on page 59 of your package is their written notice of appeal, which raises the issues that Ms. Allen addressed before y'all.
Thank you. Want to start out by asking about the portion of the infraction that relates to failure to manage the employees. Sir, were you the manager on duty when this occurred?
No, sir, I wasn't.
Okay.
I wasn't on that day.
Who was the manager on duty?
His name is Carlos.
And is he still employed by your restaurant?
Yes, sir.
Okay. that's the only question I've got for right now. I'll let anybody else ask any other questions.
I think, one is, you know, our community over the last few years has really been progressive when it comes to alcohol, especially downtown and things of that sort. So, you know, we take it serious, and what I'm hearing from you guys, and I guess this is coming in somewhat of a question, but, you know, is you're concerned about the probation, which to me sounds like you're concerned that it's gonna happen again. And you're worried about, if it happens to you a second time, that you're gonna have, I assume that if I remember this correctly, it's 15 days?
Actually, it's $1,000 fine, 3 years probation, and up to 30 days suspension.
Okay.
So the last two establishments that came before the Alcohol Control Board, based upon the steps the establishments had taken with respect to making sure it would not happen again, the Alcohol Control Board did reduce their penalties to 15 days.
Okay. So, but it seems to me that the concern is that it would happen again. I mean, if I was in a situation, and I'm just speaking for me, if I was in this situation, I'd say, look, give me no fine and I'll go 10 years probation, because this ain't gonna happen again. You know, that's sort of where I'm coming from on it. And so I guess my question to you is, what is your main concern about probation?
I may not be expressing this correctly, but I'm gonna try to answer your question, Mr. Councilman. I don't think Eleanor Paul's concern is that it's gonna happen again if they've operated so long in this community with no violations. I think part of it for an upstanding business who is trying their best to do what is right, and especially taking strong mitigation efforts, is the stigma of actually being on probation that long. Because if you actually look at the code section, I mean, whether you're on probation for the first violation for 1 year or 30 days, if you commit a second one within the 3 years, the sentence is the same. It doesn't really matter if you're on probation or not. So if they get a second violation, then there's still a standard recommendation, as Mr. Lovell stated. It doesn't matter if they're on probation or not. So I think it's just a matter of, it's our first offense. We're trying very hard to correct this. We were wrong. We deserve punishment. Is there something else other than having that stigma of saying our restaurant's still on probation for 3 years that we can do for the community to take the place of that? And it could be a higher fine, or it could be doing something to better the community. And one of the things that I mentioned in our written brief was some type of an awareness program to help, not just in the restaurant, but in the community, because that was one of the mitigation efforts. Booth set festivals, flyers, information packets to give out at high school, something, you know, just something that actually, I guess, more tangentially benefits the community other than just saying we're on probation. Because I don't think that I saw any kind of enhancement in the penalty for a second violation, whether you were on probation or not, as long as you were in that 3-year period.
Well, a couple things. You say you take it seriously, and I'm not calling for anybody to lose their job, because that's just not what I do. But you just told me that the manager who was on duty that failed to oversee their employees, I mean, you fired the employee that did it, and I understand that. But again, the violation is failure to manage employees. You had somebody in that business that failed to manage their employee, and that's okay, because we're gonna let them take a class. To the second part of that, I would say there's nothing stopping from El Nepal or any restaurant from doing those measures that you just took about buying car seats or putting out flyers about underage drinking. Are you open every day of the year? Are y'all open 365 days a year?
No, we close Christmas and.
Okay, so, but you're open roughly 350 days a year. Let's do that for easy math.
Okay.
Easy to say you'd sell maybe 100 drinks a day? Easily, probably more than that, right? So where I am is that if I take 350 days and you're selling 100 drinks a day, which we've both agreed is a lower number, that's 35,000 instances where you're selling alcohol. And you're coming before us and saying that the 1 time or the 2 times a year that we have somebody that check on you, that just happens to be the 1 time that this happens. And I, quite honestly, I just have a hard time believing that's the case. And that's kind of where I sit with it right now. So I'll let others ask questions.
I mean, to your point, there's nothing
stopping you from doing that is, I mean, I think I spoke earlier just that, you know, April is Alcohol Awareness Month, which is sort of, you know, ironic that, you know, we're here at this point, but April is that, and there are things in our community where you can partner with, and I would encourage you to do that. But I do believe that, you know, we're here at a much lenient place than where we could have been, and I think that no one puts a sign out in front of your establishment that says that we're on probation. No one will know that. In fact, I would say that coming here tonight will make it more public. To, you know, because Alcohol Control Board is not a really publicized thing. So, but you know, no one puts that stigma on yourself except for you. No one puts a sign out that says that. It is up to you and your employees to know that and to be very aware of that and be very aware of what the consequences are if that happens again. So, no, it's not no one holds that against you. It is just the penalty of it. So I would not dissuade you from that. I don't think that is a business crisis there. So that's all I have. I mean, there's some great things that I know Alcohol Paul does, and I think that there's still some other things that if you want to, you know, I would encourage you to step out and be ahead of the ball. You know, if there are, and we do have a list of things that can be done in consideration, and I would encourage you to do those.
I'd like to ask Keith, because if you're on probation and you have another violation, what does that do?
But basically, how the ordinance works is when we place you on probation, you are then if there's another violation occurs, you're then treated as a second violation for probation purposes, and the recommended fine and penalty is $1,000 fine, 3 years probation, and a 30-day suspension. If you're not on probation, and let's say you had an offense a year ago, or you had one 10 years ago, it really doesn't matter, or it's your first offense, the Alcohol Control Board has the right and power to impose whatever penalty they want on any establishment based upon the facts and circumstances. For a first violation, they can actually revoke your license if they want to. They can go ahead and place you on suspension, or they can place you on probation, and they can give you the maximum fine amount, which is $1,000, or anything lesser than any of those.
But, I'm sorry, but, so, I had a violation, I'm under 3-year probation, 2
Right.
years from now, I have this happen again. The only thing that's different is I have 30 days, up to 30 days potentially of being suspended.
Yes.
If I'm no longer under probation, and I have my second offense, is it the exact same?
Well, the potential for that penalty to be imposed is still there. The recommendation from staff for that penalty, though, is you be treated as a first violation, and which imposes a $1,000 fine and 3 years probation. Now, based upon the circumstances, the Alcohol Control Board may say it's egregious and we feel a higher penalty should be imposed.
Okay.
They can do that on any of them. Ms. Allen, y'all have anything else y'all would like to add before I?
Just that we want to say thank you. We're not trying to escape culpability because we know that we deserve the punishment. We were just trying to see if there was a way that we could take any kind of advantage of the mitigation efforts that the code allowed to possibly veer from that standard first recommendation. But we appreciate you listening and considering our arguments.
Do you feel if we watch the video of what happened that would either help or would that hinder?
I don't know that I've seen as many videos over time of this particular thing as this panel has. So I don't know if I can answer that.
I don't.
But I mean,
Okay.
I don't oppose it if the court,
Thank you.
if the panel wants to hear it.
Okay.
I'd just like to say that I applaud y'all for taking mitigation steps, and, you know, I recommend y'all continue to do that. And, you know, hopefully that we can reach a decision that, you guys can live with, but I do appreciate y'all consideration in doing that and making sure that your employees are better trained and better educated on what to do and what not to do.
Thank you for this time on this late Thursday night.
Mayor, at this point, I would ask you to close the hearing portion, and after you do close it, then council can determine whether they wish to make a motion tonight or to sort of hold it in your pocket for consideration at one of your next two council meetings.
I do have a question procedurally. Am I allowed, since I'm the fourth person, am I allowed to make motions or?
You may, yes, you may
Okay.
make
Thank
motions tonight.
I'll go ahead and, unless you're good, if everybody good, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion of the proceedings. Thank you for that.
May we proceed?
Yes, please do.
Be whatever you want.
What do y'all want to do?
I'm ready to make a motion. I mean, I'm ready. I'm ready. I make the motion to affirm what the alcohol control board said.
Matt, I know you didn't get to make motions for seconds, or you want to get?
I was just asking. No, I'm fine.
So did you make a motion? That's what I heard.
Yeah,
All right, second.
I'm gonna make a motion to affirm the alcohol control board decision.
Okay.
I second.
All right, I got a motion, a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
I vote aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Okay. So what happens from this point?
Well, that's sort of interesting. It takes four of you to approve an act, for a positive vote, so affirmative votes.
Thank you. Let's start with this. Since that motion failed, I guess we can just kind of move on and have other motions, so I'll call on anybody else.
Well, let me finish what I was gonna say. It takes four of you to affirmatively approve any action before you. As this appeal, since y'all did make that motion to affirm and that was denied, then that particular motion is denied. However, if the four of you do not make a motion tonight on it, then the appeal is also denied because y'all did not make a motion in favor of it.
So that means it kicks back to what the Alcohol Control Board said, which is
Exactly.
what we've motioned anyway.
Yes. Yes.
Great.
Robert Rules of Orders does create some confusion.
Does anybody else have a motion that they'd like to make?
In light of that comment, no.
I would just make a motion for $1,000 to impose a sentence of, or sentence of $1,000 fine and 2 years probation.
Got a motion, do we have a second? Motion fails for lack of a second, so we'll go back to what we originally had in the Alcohol Control Board.
Well, let me ask you a question, and this is just, I guess, in general for any of these. The rule is that we have 30 days, right?
You
And
do.
how do we respond to them in 30 days?
In writing. Well, the council makes a decision or you choose not to make a decision, then I prepare an order that the mayor signs and that is sent to them. So if y'all, you know,
So that could be the next council meeting?
no, the order will be signed tomorrow, more than likely, depending on what y'all do tonight. If y'all take no further motions right now, their request is denied, and that's how the order will be drafted. If, right now, y'all say, I make a motion that we consider it at our next meeting, or consider it during the next 30 days, then we withhold doing anything until such time as you do your consideration. But since y'all did actually make a motion, then it is considered to be denied if y'all do not have any positive motions
So
here
how
tonight.
do we do that? Would we all meet publicly?
Yeah, no, at your next council
If you
meeting.
want it on the next agenda, you make a motion.
Yeah, at
to
the
have it
next
moved to the
council
next
meeting, y'all would just take,
But there wouldn't be here.
no, y'all would just vote at the next council meeting. That's all you would do. Or the council meeting after that, it just has to be within 30 days of today's date. And I believe the next two council meetings,
We got a 3-week period between now and
oh,
the next
we
one.
do have a
So it's
3-week?
gonna be next-
Okay, then it would only probably be the next council meeting.
Mayor, as frustrating as this is, you know, I would like to give some of the absent council members a chance. So what would that motion be? Would be that we will,
Make a motion to defer our decision until the next council meeting.
okay, but we don't have to, we won't have a whole other hearing.
No,
It'll just
no,
be- It'll come up, we'll make a.
It'll be on the agenda. The mayor will say, El Nepal, alcohol license appeal. Is there a motion? And y'all discuss it and make a motion, and that's it. Nobody in the audience will speak. I won't speak, or anything else.
Okay.
Make a motion to defer to the next council meeting.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
I'll vote no as well.
Then, unless y'all have another motion that y'all approve, the appeal is considered as denied.
Okay, moving on.
Jana, y'all will receive a copy of the order. Basically, it'll say you have until next Friday to go pay the fine, and it'll tell you as of that date is when your probation will actually start. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes,
Yes.
please.
The next item is short trip and easy trip number 2. Sir, if you would, step forward. Okay, and before you say your name for the record, I did want to inform the council, there is one issue I do want to make you aware of. This is, although they did receive notice for the Alcohol Control Board meeting, they did not appear before that meeting or present any evidence on their behalf at that meeting, though the Alcohol Control Board, since they had received proper notice, was within their rights to impose a fine and a penalty, which they did decide to do, which was the $1,000 fine and 3 years probation for a first violation. I will state that it is on page 105 of your package where the considerations for mitigation are, and page 109 is where their actual written appeal is. Sir, at this time, state your name and record and make whatever oral argument you want.
Address is 165 Castle Road, Cartersville. Ms. Jana, she explained it very well. And you guys had a pretty legit questions. We accidentally sold this money. We apologize. If you can just reconsider the fine and probation, that'd be great.
Okay.
I don't want to take a lot of your time.
Thank you. Mr. Lovell, is it appropriate to ask why they were not present at the Alcohol Control Board?
Yes.
Okay, so I would like to ask how you got to this.
I was out of country.
Okay.
And I did not get the notice. Actually, it was delivered to the store, and my manager employee, they did not
Okay.
give me or tell me.
I'm sorry, can you please step right there? Thank you. I'll be able to hear you better if you do that. Thank you.
Right. So I was out of country and I did not get that notice. And as soon as I found out about this last meeting, I called city and I came up here and requested if I can come to the next one.
Okay, thank you. And I'm trying to recall, was it an employee of yours
Yes.
that did this?
Yes.
And what happened to that employee?
Well, I suspended her for about a week. We are really short-staffed. It's really hard to find a good help right now. I have a signs on the door, help wanted, and seems like nobody wants to work, to be honest. So she is, as of right now, she is still working.
What other actions have you taken since this happened?
Well, I've been doing this for 20 years, basically, and pretty much every single alcohol, tobacco item we scan, and each time we scan, the window pops up for ID. Okay, and for some reason, I don't exactly what she did, she canceled it and sold it, and at the same time, I mean, it's not an excuse, she was training another person too. And that person, I think, got stuck somewhere, and she jumped in, she tried to hurry up, get the line going, and that's where she made a mistake.
Okay.
And that's the first time ever we try to keep it really strict, because for me, it's really not worth it, because I do have kids as well. And I tell everybody it's not worth it because I'm probably making just 25 cents a can. So please don't sell. I tell that everybody, we try to give them training as much as you can. And I try to send them again, show them some video, get them certification. I'm trying my best.
I understand. Any other questions? Okay. Does anybody care to see video, or are you fine, or do you have any, nobody's got questions for Mr. Chisty? Okay, if there are none, a motion's in order.
I make a motion to affirm the Alcohol Control Board of $1,000 and 3-year probation.
Okay, got a motion, do I have a second? Second. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. I'll vote aye, any opposed? Very good.
And sir, just like the other establishment, you'll get a notice will be delivered to you, but basically what it will say is you have until next Friday to pay the fine, and on that date your probation will start. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next establishment is the Page, also known as Coronas. I will inform you that on page 219 are the mitigation circumstances you can consider, and then on page 224 is their actual appeal. Sir, if you want to step up, state your name for the record and all, and then you may make your statement. I will tell you there was one difference about this particular establishment than the others. Actually, two differences I'll let you know. One is that there were actually 2 employees cited at this establishment instead of the standard 1, and that's because 2 employees were actually involved in the transaction, whereas at all the other establishments, only 1 employee was involved in the transactions. This gentleman is not the actual license holder. He is his partner, and but he did come forward to represent the business and, you know, make their arguments before the Alcohol Control Board and to accept whatever penalty is imposed on them. And at this time, you may make any statements you would like after you say your name and address first.
William Watkins, Page Bar and Grill, 212 South Tennessee Street, Cartersville, Georgia. First, I need to do the same thing I did before. I don't normally speak in public, so forgive me for that. Like I stated before, I was supposed to be a silent partner. This got dumped in my lap. With that being said, we try to make the best of it. If you watched the video, I think at that time there was probably 7 people in the building. And I'm wanting to say in that 7 people that was in the building, I think my wife and the bartender was 2 of the 7. I'm not sure, and I would ask you to watch the video. I'm a truck driver. I own a trucking company, and that's what I do for a living. I'm dirty now because I broke down trying to get here. So give me just a minute because I need to.
You're fine.
I'm asking for leniency because this is not what I asked for. My wife, the lady that actually handed the beer down, I didn't fire right away because I didn't know if I could or not. I fired her after the fact. My wife, on the other hand, you can't fire. We've been together 31 years. She's down there now. We're supposed to be open. We had to pay to have plumbing put in. I'm losing my shirt down there. So I'm just asking for leniency for that. I can't afford to fine. I don't know if it happened again. I've made steps to keep it from happening again. I've lost, I don't know, probably $35,000 or $40,000 because I couldn't work for being down here. So that's where I'm at now. And once again, y'all forgive me, I just don't do this. So I didn't make it up. I don't know.
He did ask if we would play the video, so if If council has no objection, I'll ask Ms. Forstall to do that for us. Okay. And do we have the sound on these or not? Oh, the train. Excellent. We know we're in Cartersville. Could have given y'all the motion sickness warning. I apologize.
I'm just good. Can I sit up late, please? No, I'm just gonna pay for that. Thank you. You told me already. My text me. Okay. Yeah.
I'm sorry, can you pause that, Stacy, please? Was that an ID that she handed, or was that the form of payment that was handed? Okay.
I believe from this point it shows her sitting there until she leaves and walks out.
No problem. Can I get a receipt? Oh, there we go.
And you can stop it there. She's outside the business now. Mayor, to answer your one question, if you will refer to page 245 of your agenda in the incident report, it does state that they did not check or ask for the identification. So what you observed there was just the handing of the money to and from.
And if I may, can I address the video?
Absolutely.
I put cameras in. If you notice, it took a while for her to get her change. I had to go and put new registers in. And the reason it took so long for her to get her change is my wife couldn't get the register open. She didn't know how to operate it. Once again, we're truck drivers. We don't do this. I've also, and I think I put that in the appeal process, in trucking, I haul hydraulics. If you don't know what you're doing with hydraulics, they can kill you. We go to training. We have to do training yearly. When I went to go get my license, and I don't even know this, I look at a lot of that bar rescue, and I got a book for dummies to operate a bar. I did say that I'm willing to do this because I think there need to be some training done instead of just going to pay $20 or $25 to get a serving license and then go start serving. We didn't know nothing about it. We just trying to make the best of a bad situation. Since that, like I said, I fired the one girl. I've hired another girl. I hired a manager so that I can go to work. In the process of doing that, she stole money, so I had to get rid of her. I'm still trying to get this together. I can pull up a video right now and show you there's probably not anybody in there because we're having to pay to put money in. I didn't ask for it. I was told that, hey, this bar's doing this, and if you can help us get going good on this, because we're losing a shirt, on the return side of that, you'll get your money back, and we'll give you a quarterly bonus on it. And it didn't happen. So that's the reason I'm there. And it's either make that work or lose out. And it come to the point, I don't remember the guy's name, but I think he was sitting down here. He told me, he said, you need to go to work. And so I started going to work, and like I said, I was here early, the first deal, and I thought I was running late trying to get here because I broke down. I was trying to get here. So I'm just, like I said, I'm just asking for leniency. I'm not saying we didn't do wrong, because we did. But I'm a government employee, I'm a government contractor. I haul military freight, I've got clearances. I don't get up in the morning to go try to do wrong. I will say that after this has happened, putting cameras and stuff in, going back looking at stuff, if I'm there, I can only watch the people that I'm in front of. But if I'm at home, I got cameras up, I watch everything going on. And this 2 Saturdays ago, that was 3 drug transactions in there. I didn't ask for that. But after I saw the drug transactions, I made copies. I hurry up and got down here, called the guy up to the side and told him to leave. And I told him, you know, we're not going to tolerate this. I've since got another guy to stand at the door. I talked to another gentleman today who's an off-duty cop, and I told him I would like to talk to him about coming in when he's off to handle the door. And he made it clear, he said, you're probably going to lose what customers you got, but it might bring better customers in. And I'm at the point, like I said before, I want to do right, but at the same token, I'd rather lose what customers we got to change it over to get better customers than to keep putting up with this, because this is not something we do.
Thank you.
One question, the license, the person who holds the license, he is the other owner?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, I mean, I understand that you have a clearance and whatnot, and I don't think that would affect that. Is the owner or the licensee, the person who holds the license, are they not here just because they're out of town or out of?
He went out of the country, and I didn't even know this. That was actually me and another guy that went in with him, but the other guy, he's supposed to know all this about bars, and he was the one that talked me into bringing the money. He didn't even bring any money in. I gave up pretty much my retirement, my savings to do this.
Because I think that the penalty kind of goes with the business, not necessarily with you. I don't think that.
Well, and I wasn't telling you I had a government clearance because I'm thinking that it's gonna do something with that. I just want you to know that by me having a government clearance, I'm trying to stay on the straight and narrow from the time that I was old enough to know better to now. So it's not like I go out and try to do this stuff. I try to correct it.
Yeah, I try to reassure you that it's probably on the license holder.
It is.
And the address.
The license holder is who the violation is against from the city council. Now, these violations don't show up on anyone's criminal history record or anything like that.
So with that being the case, again, if council were to decide, if we were to decide that, whatever we decided, let's say there was a dollar amount attached to that, does that amount goes at the license holder?
Well, we send the notice to the license holder and the business, and then the owners of that business pay that. However they decide to pay that is up to them. You know, we don't sit there and say that Kerry Roth and Matt Santini on the bar. Okay. Kerry's a fine, upstanding young man, and we know Kerry didn't do anything wrong. So we're gonna make Matt Santini pay $1,000. We don't differentiate that way.
But if I'm the license holder,
You're the one ultimately legally responsible, and you're the one that if it is not paid, we would take enforcement action against.
okay, so let's just say that I was the license holder, that I've gone off somewhere else, or that I just refuse to pay. Does the city then go after the business, would they, in your scenario, would they go after Mr. Rolfe to get the money, or do they strictly come after me as the license holder?
We would go after the license holder and or the business, whichever, we take the approach that, you're all subject to the fine and one of you needs to pay.
And is there a time frame in which that money would need to be paid?
Normally, as part of the orders and for the appeals, we do establish a time period for that to be paid.
Is it a set time, or can council set what that time period would be?
Council can extend that time, lessen that time, whatever y'all want to do with respect to it.
Can council put a condition on the sentence, for example, that if there's a dollar amount assessed to it, and there's a failure to pay by whatever set time frame, that the licensee, specifically just the licensee would be subject to enforcement rather than the licensee and or the business?
Council could probably do that. The problem with doing that is that,
Since it's making the licensee personally responsible.
yeah, a lot of times the licensees are not the owners of the business. They're employees that businesses actually hire to be the licensee. They're saying, we own the business, but we want you to operate it and manage it. So then you're taking the ownership out of the equation for the penalty. You could probably impose that type of condition if you wanted to, but it's not something that staff would normally recommend. But that is within y'all's discretion.
Okay.
So
Now,
is
there
there-
is one other option which I really hadn't thought about until y'all started talking about this. You do have the option to do something that is done by the city court occasionally on certain cases or violations. It's what we call a suspended sentence. In other words, you can say, we're going to impose that fine of $1,000 on your establishment. However, we're going to sit here and hold it in our pocket for 60 days or 2 years. And if you don't have another violation during that time period, then you don't have to pay that fine. But if you do have a violation, you're going to have to pay that fine immediately, and then you would potentially have to pay whatever the new fines are. The problem with doing that, of course, is that licensees may change every year. So, you may not have the same licensee you have this year as you have next year for your business. So that's why it's not normally done or recommended by the Alcohol Control Board for situations. But if I wanted options, I wanted to just explain those to you.
Yes, sir.
We done wrong, and I think we need to be punished for it. I'm the first to say that, because right is right, wrong is wrong, there's no in between. I'm just saying that we can't afford it. If I could afford it, I'd have hired a lawyer. The lady that was talking before about community service or anything of that nature, I'm all for it. And like I said in the appeal, I even volunteered that, hey, instead of just going in to pay this and getting your serving license and going and doing whatever, well, how come we can't do something on a kiosk with, you don't just go and get your serving license whenever you renew. You got to take the test. You got to pass that test. We have to do it every year. And I do know that in the trucking industry, what we do, we're professionals. So even when it's not our fault, they'll figure out a way to say it's our fault unless we can prove otherwise. I'm just simply saying I know we done wrong, and I know we need to do something about it. I'm just being honest with you and telling you, just like the video showed. I don't know how many people it actually showed, but there was nobody in there hardly. There's nobody hardly in there now. There was nobody hardly in there yesterday. And then on top of that, it's like a domino effect. We're paying for everything there's to pay for, and I don't understand. Don is the licensee, and as soon as he got money, he flew the coop, and don't know when he'll be back. And I know that if it goes to the licensee and then it reflect back to the business, at the end of the result, I'm gonna end up paying it or shutting the doors, which, and I even said this at the last hearing, I'm trying to sell the place. In the process of trying to sell the place, other people come in and say, hey, did y'all know that there's another company going in right 4 doors down that's doing the exact same thing you guys are doing? So you try to sell it, and then nobody wants to buy it because they got competition right there. So like I said, it's a rock in the hard spot. And I've always been one that says, if, you know, with the lemons, I'll serve it up and make lemonades out of it. But this is 10 times worse than lemons. I'm just trying to make the best of it.
I'll make a comment that, you know, obviously, you're in a bad spot.
I'm definitely in a bad spot.
And, you know, I don't think anybody sitting up here doesn't feel for you in many different ways. You know, and the alcohol is a serious thing.
I understand that.
And, you weren't in there, and I get all that, and you're standing here trying to, you know, $1,000 could potentially save your business. I get that. And so, you know, but, you know, there's bigger issues than this going on with your business.
Right.
I think that's evident. You know, so, you know, I guess I'll turn that into a question for Keith. So Keith, if we said, we're handling this, obviously, similar to how we've handled the last, few, and, he's given a date of when to pay, and he's not able to pay. Just legal processes started as far as, hey, you know, notification goes. I guess, Matt, you might have been trying to get to this, and I'm wondering, you know, this is the reason people come in front of. There are some situations where you feel maybe you can do something. I don't feel comfortable lowering the fine. I don't feel comfortable lowering the probation. But prolonging some kind of not a payment program, but a payment program over 2 or 3 months, 3 or 4 months, and understand that if you can't get it done, you can't get it done, and you know, but give you some time to get your business in order as a whole. But as a city councilman that's been on here for 13, 14 years, and as much as we deal with alcohol, it's very serious. And we want our citizens to understand that, you know, when you go in an establishment, people know the rules and they abide by them. So I don't know if I can.
Yes, you can actually, make a motion and give a payment schedule or a ultimate payment deadline if you would like. In other words, you could say pay $250 a month, or, you know,
Do I need to close
or
the public,
1,000.
do I need to close the public hearing portion?
No,
before we do
because
that?
y'all are still asking him questions and he hasn't made his closing remarks.
Great,
yet.
thank you.
But y'all can do that. I will state there's another option that you could do if you wanted to as well. The Alcohol Control Board did discuss this with respect to his hearing. It was that in the event he did find a buyer, normally the probation goes with the business itself. In other words, if, you know, somebody comes in and buys that business tomorrow, they still have that 3 years probation. If council wanted to, you could state, you know, have a motion that if it is shown that it is a non-connected, non-related in any way, manner to the current license holder or to you, individual buying it, that they will start clean on their probate, that they will not be on probation. The new owner will not be on probation. You can also do that as a motion. What the Alcohol Control Board informed him during their meeting was that if he ever did have a buyer that wanted to come for it, he could come before them and ask them to remove the probation under those circumstances. And several of the members, you know, they of course couldn't vote on it, but several of the members at that time did state that they thought they would do that for him if he did come and ask. So I did just want to make you aware of that. If y'all don't have any other questions, I'll ask him if he wants to make any final comments, and then the mayor can close the public hearing.
Well, the final comments that I got is I talked to 4 different people that was potentially wanting to buy the place. And out of the 4 people that potentially wanted to buy the place, pretty much said there's no need in trying to buy something to make it grow when you got somebody right next door fixing to open up and do the same thing. And so, I mean, like I said, it's not like getting stung by a bee, it's like getting stung by a whole hornet's nest. And like I said, I'm trying to do what I can do to make the best of it. And there's no need in lying. I'm not gonna lie to you. Right's right, wrong is wrong. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that it won't happen again, because once again, on my part of it, I'm not in the bar business. I've been trucking for 20-something years and million-mile safe driver, the whole 9 yards. That's what I do. This, I'm learning as I go. I'm learning as I go, and I'm trying to make correct steps to make it right. It's just gonna take a while. It's gonna take some time. And that's, like I said, if I sat here and said, you know, if you asked me, well, do you think it'll happen again? And I said, no, I'd be lying to you, because I don't know. I just know that every chance I get to turn on TV, I'm even recording it, bar rescue. I'm looking in the books. And I had a question that I didn't even know the answer to, and I've had several people that did come in the bar. If they come in and they've got a suspended license, or they come in with a license in their hand and they've been in trouble, I don't know. Most of the time they'll come in with a license, everything's good. But every once in a while we get somebody come in with a piece of paper. And, you know, well, why do you have the paper? Why don't you have a license? And I mean, we're asking questions. I really don't know if we're able to even ask or not, but I ask it anyway. I better ask for forgiveness than, you know, do something else wrong. And the police that was in here the first meeting, I told them, I said, y'all done an excellent job. I appreciate it. The guy that actually wrote everything up, I said, I appreciate what you done. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Like I said, I'll take my punishment. I'm just being honest and tell you, right now, we can't afford it.
Let me ask you this, and let me say a couple things. Number one, please don't apologize for working. And don't apologize for saying you don't speak well publicly, because you've done a great job of telling us what's in your head and what's in your heart.
I just
So
get
you're
nervous and tear
You're
up,
absolutely fine. So, I'm gonna ask you, because I do agree with Councilman Stepp that you know, that the dollar amount and the probation period, I think it needs to be, I feel it warrants what it is. If it were to be over a 10-month period where you're paying $100 a month, does that,
That's better.
I mean, I know you'd rather not,
Right.
but given the choice of things, does that make an impactful, does that make the bites a little bit easier
Right.
and go a distance to helping you preserve your business and help to grow it?
I think so, yeah. I mean, it's better than what I got now.
Right.
Like I said before, if you guys just toured the place and saw it, you probably like, ain't what in the world, I could go back in there. I mean, it's a mess. So we're working on trying to fix that as well as grow it. And it's just hard to do.
Okay. Thank you.
And I do have another question, if I may ask.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Is your name Mr. Lovell?
Yes.
If I cannot find a buyer,
Yes, sir.
and for some miraculous reason that it turns around, and I go in there, because right now, like I said, we're partners. I go in there and was able to buy this place and try to get other people in here, and will those fines still go with me also? Because it sounded like you were saying.
The fine of $1,000 is against the current license holder and the current business. Now, if you create a brand-new business, you know, say the current business is, you know, Keith Lovell Enterprises, and you create a new one called J. Stepp Enterprises. J. Stepp Enterprises would be a new business getting a new license. The 3-year probation would go with J. Stepp Enterprises. The actual fine would not. The fine would stay with the current licensee and establishment as of the time of the violation.
you have any other questions or comments, sir?
Once again, I apologize I know you said not to apologize, but I can't help myself, so, I apologize for taking up your time. I just hope you guys would do something to, show a little bit of leniency for me.
All right, I'll close the public hearing portion then, and I'll make a motion for 3 years probation, $1,000 fine, and make it payable in 10 months. Meaning that there'd be 10 $100 installments to pay that, made payable $100 every 30 days.
Okay, so we, just for simplicity's sake, we'd make the first one due May 1st and then every month thereafter.
Sure.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And I'll vote in the affirmative, and that passes unanimously 4-0.
I
Thank you, sir.
appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Can I say one last thing? It's got nothing to do with this, I don't
Sure.
think. When you're trying to learn something and you don't know it, you ask questions, and it seems like you get criticized or ridiculed or talked down to. In my opinion, I don't think it's right. I know and I'm going back to trucking. In trucking, if I'm out somewhere and somebody's having an issue, I get out and try to help them. Nobody was born out of the womb in a truck, so everybody had to learn it. Nobody started driving a vehicle. Everybody had to learn it. I felt like trying to figure out what processes to take was like talking, you know, I'm speaking in 4 or 5 different languages that I have no idea what was said. The first lady that come up here, the attorney, I guess, whatever was said between them two, I'm trying to figure it out, and I want to say it's somewhere over here, and I mean, I'm at a loss. So, like I said, I know I'm gonna make hiccups. I'm gonna stumble. I know that. I just hope that if I reach out to ask for help, that I don't get ridiculed, or because I felt like I'd done that in the very beginning. So I'm just asking if you guys don't mind, and where's the law office of Archer?
Archer and Lovell, yes.
Okay. I made some phone calls to try to find out what my procedures were. And in my opinion, and nobody was on the phone but me and the lady that was on the phone, and in my opinion, it felt it seemed to me that she was being rude with me. And then when I called back the next time to find out about the appeal process, I was told that, you know, don't worry about the inner workings of what goes on inside the city hall or wherever it was at. I don't remember word for word. And my response to that was, I don't know how this process works. I just want to make sure my paperwork get where it's got to get to, and somebody's got it. And that's all I was trying to do, was to make sure that it was received. So if you don't know this, and like I said, I'm not going to call any names because I don't know who they were now anyway, but in my opinion, I just feel like that I'm reaching out for help, and I'm reaching out to try to make sure I do the right thing, but yet it's like, you know, just go on, you know, deal with it.
Well, I apologize if any of my staff did that, and I will address that issue with them to make sure they treat anybody that calls in with respect and provides them the information they need, or in this case, they would have either forwarded you to me, or they would have sent you to Ms. Drake for her to answer those specific questions. And I do apologize if that did not happen.
It did not, but once again, I appreciate that, and I just, and I'm speaking from the heart, like I said before. I made it clear, you know, we done wrong, we need to get penalized for it. So,
Sir, I apologize for the city if you called City Hall and didn't get somewhere. So here's my business card. If you do need some assistance on this, just give me a call, and we'll get you in the right touch with the right person then.
All right, thank you, Mr. Watkins. Is there any other business that needs to come before council this evening? Well, I'm sorry, you had another question?
Basically, sir, we'll get you, an order will be delivered to you explaining it, your 10-month payment plan, when it's due, and the date that the probation starts.
I gave, I think, yes, I just want to make sure that way I can make sure I do.
Right, and that's where we'll send it to you,
Okay.
sir.
Is there going to be, I'm trying to go back to work.
Yeah.
Like I said, I went out and broke down, but I'm
Right.
trying to get back out there. So say if you send this, I'm guessing, I don't know, but is this some kind of special deal that
No,
you
it'll
guys
be
normally
sent-
don't do?
It'll be sent regular mail unless you want it certified or
Well,
something.
no, I don't need it certified. My question is, if you send it to me and I'm not there to receive it, and I'm gone for 3 weeks, is there gonna be a penalty for me not getting it in, or do you guys have like an internet process type payment?
We
or-
don't have internet process for payment of this. Basically, what it would say is that you need to pay $100 by the first of each month for the next 10 months.
Okay.
So it will be your responsibility to see that that's done. Now, if you're having issues with getting that money to the city, you can always contact my office, and we'll make the, and if we know about it and know it's in the mail or coming to my office, we'll inform the city to hold off until we receive it based upon what time frame you've told us.
Okay, and last question, I promise, if I have a good week, get a good check, and I send $200 or $300,
Yes.
will that go toward the month, each month, or would they take that and say, okay, next month you still owe?
No, if you pay, say, $200 on May 1st, your next payment would be July 1st.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other business that needs to come before council this evening? Seeing none, chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
There you go. Congratulations.